Welcome back to another exciting and informational episode of Mind, Your Body, and Soul. I am Joseph Ward here for another episode, and thank you to everybody who has continued to view our videos, learn our information, be able to connect with the different guests that we've had on. I've had a couple guests reach out and tell me about the connections that they were able to make. So I appreciate everybody. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share, all of that. This is a digital resource guide for our community here in the Tallahassee Big Bend area. And remember that Mind Your Body and Soul is the healthiest podcast you have ever heard in your entire life. We focus on making sure that we connect our people to the resources that are available within our community. So therefore, they can know how to use the resources, access the resources, and help make their life better. And remember, we are not just available here on YouTube, but we're available on Anchor, Breaker Radio, Public Pocket Cast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all other podcast services. We are out there, so make sure you tune in. So today, we have my seat buddy, one of my good friends. I met her. We met
in July.
May, June, July. Yeah, July of 23. May. Yeah, like May between May and July of 23. And you know how you meet people and you just, we just friends. And that's just how it was. So let me brag a bit. So Mandy Stark Bianchi is an award-winning veteran professional with more than 24 years of experience in state associations and nonprofits in the Big Bend. Known for being highly creative and intuitive, her motto is to remain focused, flexible, and friendly in all situations. Mandy has superior written, verbal, and relationship building skills that pair with her public speaking, fundraising, event planning, and community relations abilities. She is a graduate of Tallahassee Community College in 1997, and of course, a graduate of the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University in the year 2000 in the School of Media and Journalism. Go J School. All right. And she also graduated from Liberty University with a master's degree in business management and leadership in 2013. She is a 2010 graduate of the Jim Moran Institute for Global Entrepreneurship right here in Tallahassee. And there are a lot of great leaders in our community who graduated from that program. She's a founding member of the Tallahassee Memorial Cancer Center's Ride for Hope and has been working with the United Way for a while. She's involved in Leon County Schools, lunch mentor program, Meals on Wheels driver for elder care services. She just all the way into the community, whether it's health, whether it's just nonprofit, whether it's just I need a hand, I need somebody to be there for me to just contribute to the community. And she's also a member of Leadership Tallahassee Class 40 Wonderful, and one of Tallahassee's 25 women that you need to know. Put your hands together, your feet together, whatever you need to put together for Mandy Stark Bianchi. Welcome.
Thank you so much to my seat buddy.
Yes. Oh, no problem. I am excited to have you on here. You are, like I say, one of my favorites. I love your energy. I love the just like everything you bring to the environments that you're in. We know you're here. When you're in the room, we know you're in the room. Feel your energy. Your smile lights up the room, and you always have a positive attitude, even if you may be working through some things, even though life may be life, and sometimes you always have a positive attitude, and I appreciate that about you. So that's why I had to have you on this platform.
Thank you so much. I feel the same exact way about you too.
Thank you.
Life does be life-in though.
Yes, it does. So before we get into all of the wonderful work that you do into the community, your work that you do for Ability First, and just what got you here, but we want to get some background information. So who is Mandy and what made Mandy take this route in life?
Well, I grew up mostly in Tallahassee. I moved around a little bit, but I always come back home. After I graduated from FAMU, I moved to North Carolina to work for a business newspaper, straight out of J school, and moved to Atlanta and moved to a little place in Alabama, just working at publications. But then I just had my first child, and I said I have to come home because I need my family and friends and community around me.
Right.
So I've been home for over 20 years now. And when I came back, I worked for the Florida League of Cities, a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I was in their publications department and worked with legislative affairs. And I got to highlight all the great things our municipalities do in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to work for a public relations firm in Tallahassee, and every one of my clients was a nonprofit. So I worked with Florida Healthy Kids and the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, and I saw all the great things those nonprofits were doing for Tallahassee. And I just said that I really wanted to be part of something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I decided to get my master's degree in business with quite an emphasis on nonprofit management, and got my first big break at the Epilepsy Association of the Big Bend. Okay. And worked there for 7 years. And it showed me the disparities in healthcare and how crucial it is for people to manage their disorders and diseases. Yes. And to preserve their health.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
yeah, that's great. That's great. I have experience because my mom is disabled, and I grew up in a disabled community, and I still go over and help her sometimes. So I have some experience in understanding the needs of this particular community. So.
Definitely. Well, epilepsy is a very specific disorder, and it is so disruptive to a person's life and well-being.
Yeah.
And not being able to access medication and doctors is very, very dangerous for people who have epilepsy. So I was so happy to be able to help get those resources, and also have a support group just to talk about all of the different things that people go through. And I was so lucky during COVID, I was recruited to come work at Ability First, which is a much broader organization that focuses on every disability.
Right.
So I've been here for almost 4 years, and it's been a wild ride with COVID and the homeless disaster basically facing Tallahassee. I know it's all over our country, but Tallahassee seems to be extremely affected. And so there are many people who have disabilities who are homeless, on the verge of homelessness, and they're just losing hope. So it's our mission to really help our entire community of folks who do have disabilities realize that there are opportunities to maintain their health and to find, better ways of enhancing their quality of life.
Right. No, that's what we're here for. What I love about this, and what I love about what you're saying, and just everything that we do as a whole when we decide to give back to our community, is everybody has your specific skill sets, your specific passion, your specific focus. And we're like the Justice League or the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
We all have our different superpowers, our different focuses. But, that's why us coming together and working together is so important, because you have a focus on people with disabilities. I have a focus on people who are HIV positive, but those can intersect as well.
They definitely do intersect.
So we need to work together. We need to make sure that our network of people that we're using to make our community better is strong, and we can support each other, because like you were explaining why you do what you do in this specific lane, and it just had me, well, that's why I do what I do over here. So that's the best part about it. So So take it back a bit. So growing up here in Tallahassee, how did you get an interest in journalism? What made you say, okay, when I go to FAMU, I want to get into the J school?
Gosh, I just really loved literature growing up. I was always reading something. I think I really wore out my welcome with the Scholastic Book Club. I would always bring the sheet of paper home with all the books that I wanted. My parents would always hook me up with the books, and I just spent a ton of time reading growing up, and I guess I became a writer before I even knew it. I always just somehow was able to put my words on paper, even if I wasn't so great about speaking. And so I guess when I got, my teachers noticed that I was a writer, I just tried to think of what my career could be. And I guess I really always loved telling stories. My grandpa was a great storyteller. He used to just talk about how he grew up in upstate New York, in a very poor community. And, his stories were always so engaging and hilarious, no matter how he was telling the story about, them living through the Depression and having like one, vehicle for like his brothers and his sister, even though it was kind of a not great situation at that time in history, he always put a funny spin on his stories.
Right.
And I think I just loved how he did that. So I thought to myself, if I can tell people's stories or tell my story, it would make a difference. So J School taught us that there's a lot more that goes into journalism and writing than just writing. I mean, there's legalities, there's ethics, there's changing technology, and there's multimedia. There's so many other things that actually go along with telling a story, whether it's in a newspaper or a magazine, or obviously now blogs and podcasts. And it was actually even more educational than I even expected in J School. As you know, we recently had our Media Injustice Day at Leadership Tallahassee, and it was so funny because the class was supposed to interview people at the courthouse, like a man on the street reporting, and I just thought to myself, I just can't do it, because I used to have to do that a lot in school. I'd have to just wait outside of like the voting districts and interview someone, and it's like, I can't do this. I just did it so much. But it was awesome to see the whole class, embrace that, because it's so intimidating walking up to someone and asking them their opinions or thoughts and then getting permission to publish it.
Yeah.
I just had to do that so much in my job and in school. So I just thought it was so funny to see everyone doing it, and everybody did such a great job.
Yeah. That was fun for me. Finding people who are willing to talk. Some did want to talk, some didn't want to talk. Some was on the move. Some were just, okay, well, let's talk. For me, the challenging part was writing the news article in the news article style. That was challenging for me because I've never done that before. So I'm like, okay, well, I can get the information. We're gonna have to get some help on writing this thing. But,
definitely, it is not easy, and just condensing all of the things you really want to say. But I think being able to capture a person's, thoughts and feelings in an article is a great form of art, honestly.
Yes. But it's a skill set that you've developed and you're able to use now within your work as a leader, but also your work within healthcare and helping disabled communities. You're able to help tell stories and help others tell their own stories.
Definitely. I think when somebody can feel less alone,
Yeah.
to know, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person who's ever been through this, or that situation is not as unusual as I thought it was, or I'm not a weirdo, or, other people have lived through the same thing that I'm going through. It gives people so much comfort and hope. That's why I think being able to share success stories and things, about health is very, very important to inspire people going through some type of challenge.
Exactly. Like I said, I grew up seeing it. I grew up in underserved, underprivileged, disadvantaged communities, and I one of my biggest pet peeves is to see people who need help, who don't know where to start to get the help that they need, and they're already disadvantaged, and they're just scrambling for help, and it feels like nobody cares. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves, because we hear a lot of messages and narratives about how we should look out for specific communities, and these communities that everybody should pour their help into. But if you have been into these communities, it's not just black and white like that. Especially in the disabled community, they need help just like everybody else. And if it's hard to get to it, that makes life harder. That's another barrier that I'm concentrating on, and I can't concentrate on my health or other things because I'm concentrating on this barrier that could be impacting my life and making it more difficult.
Exactly.
So that's where ability first comes in.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pretend like I've never heard of ability first. So
okay.
And for some of my viewers, I know they haven't. So give us some information about ability first and how they actually serve our community.
So the official name for Ability First is the Center for Independent Living of North Florida.
Okay.
And somewhere along the line, the leaders at the organization changed its name to Ability First. And it's kind of a term that is supposed to mean that we're empowering you to use your abilities and not to focus on your disability.
Right.
And on top of that, the name Center for Independent Living sounds like a residential home. And that's definitely not what we are. Right. We were at one time many, 40 plus years ago. We definitely still get phone calls when people say they're looking for placement for their child or something along those lines. But I think of us as almost like the resource center at a school, or like the media center. Like we're kind of like, we hold a lot of information, and right. We're able to help people get the services or the info that they need without having to, like you said, like just run around in circles, basically trying to figure it out. Because it is exhausting. I mean, the healthcare system is exhausting. Transportation is such an issue. Just there's so many things that make it hard to succeed. So we are just basically the support. We're almost like a navigator.
Right.
And we do provide direct human services. Housing is I would say, number one issue aside from homelessness in Tallahassee right now. We, in everything Ability First does, from helping with housing to homeless outreach to the mental health and substance abuse support, all of those things always have the spin that we're helping a person with a disability. So it's almost like an extra layer of support. We recognize the challenges that people face. And when we say disabilities, it can be anything from a mental, a mental health concern, to even ADHD, to, cognitive disabilities, right up to somebody who is paralyzed or, has some type of physical disability. So it's a really wide range. We have people that we have on our board, and they have, they have diabetes. That's considered a disability. They have hearing loss. They have visual impairments. I mean, the range is so wide, which I think is really, really wonderful that people are acknowledged, for what they're experiencing. It doesn't have a one size fits all mentality here. And the other thing about Ability First is that we are mandated by our number one funder, Health and Human Services, through the Association for Community Living. We are required as a Center for Independent Living to have at least 51% of our staff and 51% of our board be someone who is experiencing a disability.
Gotcha.
And so it took me a little while to understand that, but the philosophy is that it's a peer mentorship almost. So our staff also have a slight inkling of what another person is going through.
Right.
And our board too.
Yep. It's one of the strategies used in HIV/AIDS as well, the peer navigation. Having people who are either on the ground from the communities or who may be HIV positive themselves. Because it's one thing to have a theory about reaching the community, and it's another thing to have experience in reaching the community. And from both angles. We went to college, they told us in theory this is how you do certain things, then you get out to the real world like, okay, some of this works and some of this doesn't. So you have to really learn it on the ground. But that I do like that, because having people in place who've shared experiences or similar experiences, they can really tell this person how to navigate this system. I can get you access to these people, but these people can take you to the next step. So I do think that is a good strategy to use.
I do too.
Yeah.
We have staff members. We have staff members who just really relate to the people that we work with.
Yeah. But that's important. The rapport. When I go, whatever services that I'm accessing, whether it's the doctor, dentist, whatever, human services, whatever, I want to be able to have a good rapport with people. I want to be connected with people that I know care about me and want to help me solve my problem, rather than people who are just showing up to work and getting checked, because my problem isn't gone, but we're still here.
Exactly. So, it's all about the experience, in my opinion.
Right. So with Ability First, that, like you say, there are a number of different programs. I'm looking at access to independence, crime victims assistance, home modifications, mental health outreach, to navigate, establish, secure, thrive, permanent supportive housing, street outreach, youth services. That's a number of services that people involved are involved in or can get involved in. So what strategies do you guys use to make sure that you can ensure that the community have access to these, or to ensure that the community knows about these outside of doing interviews like this? What other types of outreach or community access do you do?
So it is extremely important for Ability First to communicate and collaborate with other nonprofits, especially the human services nonprofits. We regularly work with Capital City Youth Services, Family Promise of the Big Bend, Second Harvest Food Bank, the Refuge House, Brehan Family Services, 211 Big Bend, you name it. We have a relationship, and that's really just so critical to have relationships, not just here's my card, call me if you need something, but to actually know the people over there, because it just makes your success, I think, in helping the person that much higher. Like Legal Services of North Florida, we have a relationship with them, and we have a person who's currently in the hospital who has no family and really no caregivers or anybody. I mean, literally. And she just is very fond of one of our case managers and wants her case manager to go into her apartment and collect a couple things for her to have at the hospital.
Right.
But it's not as simple as it sounds. We have to get power of attorney, or we have to get special, privileges. And Legal Services of North Florida has helped us with that.
Yes.
And I don't think if I didn't have a relationship with Leslie, their executive director, I don't think they would have taken as kindly to helping us with that request.
Well, and that goes into my next question, building the relationships with other community organizations. It's one thing to say, hey, go build relationships, but for our viewers, and especially for some maybe established professionals or up and coming professionals, what tips would you give people on effective ways to build relationships with other community organizations?
I think that I mean, it doesn't start quite at the top, to be honest with you. It's just finding out who, works there. And, I would say to send an introduction email, not a generic one, but just to say, looks like that, we've got some people in common. I just wanted to say hi. I hope that we can get to know each other. If there's anything you can think of that you need, here's my cell phone. Please feel free to text or call me. Just little things like that are better ways of connecting than to just call them for the first time ever when you need something.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah. I see some entities or individuals work for entities in the community. They'll do that, have a great idea, and just reach out to somebody, and it's no rapport built. And then, you're seeing it from both sides. One person's reaching out, the other person like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
So, rapport has to be built for that bridge to happen. And if that bridge doesn't happen, it will make it more difficult for you to help the patients or the clients that you are helping. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
That's why that patient, she has become so attached to her case manager because she knows that she cares and she trusts her. She trusts her enough to give her access to her apartment, to go collect her purse and her checkbook. We're over at Ability First. We know that it's not that simple to just go into someone's apartment, but those little things I think just mean a lot.
Well, even in that, so for that to happen, once again, a rapport had to be built. But what role do the case managers for Ability First play with the patients that can help build that type of rapport?
I think just showing up and responding. I think those are the easiest ways, just so the person knows that they're not just another number or just, we've had people who have been clients of Ability First for 30 plus years. And I think, we have a case manager, Kim, she's over our permanent supportive housing program, and she gets to know the clients on a not like a personal level, but on a human level. And whenever we're placing people in housing, we have to find out a little bit more about them to help them transition to housing. So one of the clients we found out through Kim that she loves to read, and she reads a book a day.
Wow. That's
yes.
Cool.
Her husband passed away. She said the only thing that keeps her mind busy and off of missing him so much is reading. So Kim was able to collect some books, and then I put out a plea online. One of our classmates, Sandy, she picked up about 20 books. One of our other classmates, Meredith, brought me some books. And then it occurred to me that maybe if we got this client a Kindle, we could load it up with books.
Yes.
And so I put a little outcry on Facebook. Next thing I know, I had a Amazon wish list, and it was filled so fast. So somebody bought her a Kindle. Somebody bought her these adult coloring books, like with the large print. I mean, people are willing to help if you ask.
Yes. But when people, you've done a great job of making sure that you've created a network of like-minded people who care about the community as well. So when people do ask for help, you can actually respond rather than saying, "Oh my God, you need help." You have a team in the army behind you to actually respond to the people when they ask for help. So I mean,
yeah. And I think that's where telling stories comes into play.
Right. It does. And with you telling that type of story, it sets stuff into motion even more, because now people's mindset is, okay, well, this is what she can do, so let's help her even in the future, because we know you're good for it. We know that you're not just pulling people's strings, you're actually helping people in the community. So that goes into it. So as an executive director, because now I want to add in a little leadership component. As an executive director of Ability First, how do you, well, first of all, what would you consider your leadership style to be?
So first of all, I don't know everything. I definitely admit that. I learn something new every single day, and I try to have as much fun as possible, because that's very important to me. If I'm not having fun, I really don't want to be there.
Right.
You know, I really, I just find it just critical. I mean, it doesn't happen every single day, but I try to incorporate some element of fun as much as I can, and food, because everybody loves food.
Yes.
I have learned that I really need to listen to people. Like, even when it comes to food, I might think, hey, everybody wants pizza for like Employee Appreciation Day, but that might not be true. I mean, I need to send out a little survey to see what people are really feeling. So that's my leadership style. And I always admit when I'm wrong, because I am wrong. There's not every time I'm not exactly 100% right. I'm just going off of what I have at the moment, and I can look back and think, oh, I could have done that better. I could have handled that better. So that's something that's important to me as a team member, because that's how I consider everybody. I don't really consider myself their boss. I just think of us as a team.
Good.
And then, of course, I've always, learned in the past, like, hey, what would I have wanted my former boss to do? Or that's kind of how I go. That's kind of how I do what I do. I have to really remember not to burrow myself in my office or, get bogged down so much that I don't interact with anybody all day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my style.
So you mentioned two of my favorite things, food and fun.
Yes.
And I think for those who may not understand why we're saying this, we do a lot of serious work in the community, and you have to find a way to make it enjoyable and not mundane. Because if it's just mundane, you're not going to want to come back. So you have to find a way, you have to find your love into it and incorporate your interest. And food and fun is some of the interests. So how have you, using your leadership style, your background in journalism, your background in event planning, your background in nonprofit, how have you been able to utilize all of that into your leadership style to create the atmosphere that you have at Ability First?
It's really just been the people I've come across in my career over the years. I mean, it's a combination of all the people that I've been lucky enough to meet, and things that they did that resonated with me. I always say, my big boss at the Florida League of Cities, Mike Sittig, he always said, ask for forgiveness and not permission. And it took me forever to understand what that meant. But it, to him, it meant, go for it, go, you don't have to second guess everything you do. You know, he was like, I trust you enough because I hired you to make decisions and to maybe take a risk, or calculated risk. And it took me, I probably didn't even get it when I worked there, but I got it later. And I mean, it was just such a beautiful thing when you think about that he would empower people to feel that way.
Yes. Go make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, he always said there's nothing that I can't fix. I mean, unless you like get arrested or, there's nothing he couldn't actually smooth over or fix. And it just opened up just a new philosophy. So, and then, my boss, Beth, at the Florida League of Cities, always just encouraged me, and she knew I had a tendency to get down on myself, and, she could sense it, and she would, be like, go take a break, go, let's go chat, let's go, talk, let's go for a walk. Those little things mean more than just a talking to or, criticizing. So if I can tell someone's struggling, I mean, they're going to be much better off if you give them a little bit of a break. So I try to be extremely forgiving and try to be as intuitive as possible about people and what they might be living through. So though, just modeling what people have done for me in my job over the last so many years. And then, it's a combination of like professors and met, my first mentor, Karen, who hired me at the Florida Dental Association when I was 19. I made a lot of stupid, errors, and I was still, probably more focused on going out to clubs than my career. But she saw something in me that, despite, some of the silly things I, did in the workplace, like, whatever, just little mistakes, or she saw through and past those things and really let me become a professional without, being way too hard on me. And to this day, Karen is still a mentor and a friend. So it's just like all kinds of people combined. And then, of course, the people who weren't so great. And, were especially hard on me for, those, things that really didn't matter. Those people, too, actually influenced how I am today, too. So.
Right. So a combination of all the experiences. A
culmination of things.
And that that experience matters, because that's going to translate into how you lead your team that you have with you, because you will have more grace, more patience, and be willing to teach.
Yeah, for sure.
So, because I look at it like this. I'm a sports guy, so look at it like a football team. So the leader is the head coach. Okay. So as a head coach, I go out and I get these players to play because I can't do that.
Right.
Now, in a business setting, I can do that, or I may not. I can do part of it, but I hired you because you're better at it than me.
Exactly.
And so I need to empower you to be able to be the best that you can be. And I'm your support, I'm your guide, I'm your empowerment, I'm all those things. And you are that to me as well, because I need you just as much as you need me. But I think people in leadership positions sometimes forget that it's not all about me, because I can't do anything without my team. That's why I have this team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love inspirational sports analogies too. I love it. I think it's a perfect analogy.
But one thing I'm noticing too is how it's fortunate enough to be able to pick fields that go along with your personalities as well as your passions, because you are a people person. You are a warm, loving, nurturing people person, and you're the person I can just see wrapping your arms around people and making them feel comfortable when they're in your presence, because of course that's what you did with us in leadership, especially me. So I can imagine people that you were leading, people who are part of your team, you're wrapping your arms around them and helping them get to this next stage. But that's important, because as a young person, that would make me want to continue to wake up and come back. Like you said, I did a lot of dumb stuff as a young fella, a lot of dumb things. But I had people to rein me back in, and it wasn't the end of it. And we have to also learn that it's okay to make mistakes. Make your mistakes at 100 miles an hour. I'd rather you do that than trying to be safe. And it can get worse because you're trying to be safe, so you're not willing to take any risks. So.
Exactly. I have a 21-year-old, and I try so hard not to say, don't learn from my mistakes, because my mistakes were mine.
Right.
And her mistakes will be hers. And
right.
That's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
Without being too hard on ourselves.
And I think that's one of the main objectives too, is to not be too hard on yourself, but also to be in environments where people can reinforce positivity and reinforce the things that you need to be able to bounce back. You got to dust yourself off and try again. You have to.
Yeah.
So
what song was that? Aaliyah?
Aaliyah, yeah. Yes. that's one of my things. Aaliyah said, if at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again.
Exactly. Because people forget your mistakes. You're gonna remember it way longer than another person does.
Yes. So, what would you say was one of your greatest challenges so far in your journey, whether it's at Ability First, but anyway in your professional journey? What was one of your greatest challenges, and how were you able to grow through that challenge?
I would say people are sometimes my biggest challenges. As much as I love, humans and people, there are always going to be people who either don't have your same attitude or just don't like you for one reason or another. Like Taylor Swift, I'm not really a Swiftie, but I always think of like her and Kanye West, something about her just really agitated him. And in her song, she says, people like to throw rocks at things that shine. And so, I've had that experience where people are just like, whatever, you're too this, you're too that. But I finally, I mean, not 100%, but realize that anything in that negative sense is always about that person and not about you.
Right.
You could remind them of somebody that they had a bad experience with. You could look like the person that, caused them pain. You could, something you say, something you smell like, anything. It's always about them. And I do the same thing. Like somebody, I'll be like, man, I don't know. There's something about that person that bothers me, but it's about me.
Yes. It's your problem, not their problem.
Exactly. Some people say, like we're too alike. So you got to ask yourself, well, if I'm so alike with this person, does that mean that there's something about myself I don't like? You could get really deep.
Exactly. But it should lead back to self-reflection.
Exactly.
Challenges should lead to self-reflection because that's going to help you grow. But if you want
specific situations is I like you say, you have to have a team of people who are better at things than you are. And I definitely get very emotionally invested in people who are in need. So I do tend to stay back because I absorb everything. So if I do encounter people who are in need or in pain or struggling or suffering, it really affects me very deeply. So I have to be protective of myself, or I won't make it. So then there are people who are so gifted who go out into the woods and visit the homeless encampments, and they have a different skill set than I do. And it doesn't mean they're less caring or, have less empathy than I do. It just means that this is their gift. And I just recognize.
But that's important. I think that's an important attribute to be able to recognize that, because it took me a minute. It took me a while to develop the healthiest way to deal with telling people that they're positive.
Oh gosh, I couldn't imagine, Joe.
Because we've had to tell teenagers.
Yeah.
And that could ruin my day. That has ruined my day in the past. I'm in the office and I'm just staring out the window because I can't believe I had to do this. But then as time go on, I realized I can't operate like this on a regular basis, because what if I go through a week and I tell somebody they're positive every day? My whole week going to be this. So I have to learn positive, healthy ways to decompress from the day, and so you can come back and be able to get back out there in the fray. Because, like you say, everything isn't for everybody, and I know my limits. I know my realm. Still learning a lot about myself, but
me too.
Just understanding that helps me move forward, helps me go forward, because like you, I believe I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I just went out to, not that long ago, to some homeless encampments. And I think if you know me, you know I love cats and dogs, but I just love cats. And I have 4 of my own, and I would have like a million more if my husband wouldn't mind. Or I have one very sassy cat, so she wouldn't like any other cats. But anyway, there were some cats at this homeless encampment. And I had one of them in my coat.
Hey.
I couldn't scoop up the person, but I was like, I can scoop this cat up.
Yeah.
and then the cat family was looking at it, and I felt so bad. So
you're not taking.
I couldn't take it away from its family, but I was on a work trip once, and there was this homeless cat, and I got it, and my friend got me a cat carrier, and I had the cat secretly in this meeting room, and I'm really surprised I didn't get in trouble. Yeah. But I brought it from Gainesville to Tallahassee, and people are like, we can't trust you. Like, you're just, I mean, if I have money, if I have cash and I see someone and they ask for it, I'll just give it to them. It's just something in me. So I'm not necessarily the best social worker. I'm really not, because that just steps so many boundaries.
Yeah,
so
got to pull it back a bit, but the passion is there to pair you with the social worker.
Oh yeah, and I just think social workers are heroes that do not get the compensation and the accolades they deserve at all. And I just am in awe of what they do every day. So that's been a challenge. It's a challenge. My mom is the same way. My grandmother's the same way. The family is just, that's just how we are. But I mean, some people say we're suckers, but whatever. I'd rather give somebody cash than, just go waste it on something stupid.
I wouldn't say you guys are suckers. I say you guys are humans.
Yeah.
You are operating the way human beings are supposed to operate. We're supposed to be kind and look out for each other. We should not think that somebody is out to get us. We shouldn't think that somebody's out to swindle us or hoodwink us. That shouldn't be a first thought. Unfortunately, we do know that's a part of the world that we live in, but that shouldn't change who you are.
Yeah.
Continue to be who you are. And that's why we love you. Because you are who you are. So with that being said, how can people get in contact with you? How can people learn more about Ability First? Even learn more about just getting in contact with resources in Tallahassee. How can they do that?
So as far as resources, 211 Big Bend is just the place to go. But Ability First, our website has just been redesigned, and I can't help, even being the journalist and the communications person, I had to rebrand Ability First. So I give it a little time, but I finally rebranded. So we have a pretty new website, and it's www.abilityfirst.info. So it's like the number one st.info.
Okay, because I was on abilityfirst.org, so let me go to that.
They both work.
Okay.
They both work.
Cool. So, okay, abilityfirst.info or abilityfirst.org.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I put both of those in our description. So people, same. Okay, it goes straight to the same site. This is a good website, and it's easy to navigate. Yeah. And everything is right there, the pictures and everything. So it's attention grabbing because I've been perusing it. So
cool.
abilityfirst.info or abilityfirst.org. Make sure you go learn more about it. Because there's an About Us drop down menu. There's programs, getting involved, how to contact them, empowering independence, enhancing quality of life. It's on the front page. So make sure everybody go check it out. I told you all she's one of my favorites. I told you all I just love what you do, how you do it, and the reasoning behind what you do. You know your why, and you stick to your why, and I appreciate that. So you already know. Anytime you need my help, you let me know. Anytime you need something from me, you let me know, because this is how we make our family stronger. We're family, so we got to make things stronger. So
I'm so grateful for Leadership Tallahassee meeting you and our team.
Yes.
I really have seen miracles happen.
Yes.
Throughout our group.
Yes.
I never expected that. I knew it was going to be cool, but I had no idea what would actually happen. And it's I mean, I've seen so many amazing situations take place, even even with our law enforcement folks. We get to see this human side of them, and it's just incredible.
It is.
I do think we're the best class ever.
I do too. I do too. I do too. But it's nothing I expected. And even if I did expect it, it's exceeded my expectations. You guys are the greatest. Like, no, but and I say that because when I talk to other people about their class, there are people who like members of their class, but I haven't talked to too many people who like the whole class like us.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that's special about our class and being picked to be a part of this class. And it's an honor. It's just an honor to be in the room with all of you. Because like last week was so fun.
I know.
So
I almost feel like we're siblings, you know, like we're
exactly
one big family.
Exactly. So that's we can sit here and talk about that all day.
I know we could have a whole podcast on it.
Don't give me ideas. Don't give me leadership.
I like that idea.
I got it. Yeah, I got to see. Got my mind rolling now. we're gonna do a joint something together with everybody.
That would be awesome.
Yes. So I know I can't hold you on here all day. I know I got some other things to do, but I appreciate you, Mandy Stark Bianchi. She's a superstar in the Tallahassee community. You can see why she was one of the 25 women you need to know. You can see why she's part of Leadership Tallahassee. You can see why the community is better because of her and her passion that she brings to it. And I believe people like you, we need to make sure we get behind and we champion you and we support you, because you are a part of the true superstars that are part of this community. And you being a fellow Tallahassean like myself, so you already understand how we want to make sure our community gets better. We know what Tallahassee used to look like, and we know what Tallahassee looks like now, and we know what it could look like if we continue to pour into it.
Moving away, you know, was fun, but kind of painful all at once, you know, and there's no place like Tallahassee.
Yep.
The good and the bad, you know.
Yep.
There's just really, truly no place like it.
Exactly. So you heard it first. You heard it here. You heard it. So mind your body and soul, the healthiest podcast that you have ever heard. Remember, like this video, comment, subscribe, share. If you're listening on our podcast platforms, whether that's Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, make sure you spread the word, hit the like buttons, whatever you need to do. Make sure we support this podcast, and let's keep this podcast going and growing, because I want my people, not just in Tallahassee in the Big Bend area, but around the country, to know what we're doing here, but also to have access to the people who are making our community better. So Mandy Stark Bianchi, I'm Joseph Ward. We are out.